Welcome to Webwise. I'm Martin Lewis, and in this program I'm going to show you how to get your business connected to the internet and how to make the most of using email at work, a top priority for most businesses. Don't worry though, I'll be stopping with short breaks so you can catch your breath and to point you in the direction of further sources of information. Because we're talking about the internet, a lot of that information is on the internet and will be in the form of internet addresses. If they don't make much sense at the beginning, don't worry, take a note of any you think are going to be useful, and by the end of the series, you'll be able to find them. The internet is a network that spans the world. It's made up of millions of computers linked together by telephone lines. It isn't owned by anyone because anyone can join computers up to it. And it works because all the computers and telephone lines are able to communicate using the same basic software standards. Across this network runs email, which can be sent to any one of the tens of millions of people with access to the network. And there's the World Wide Web, which is really a huge library of information stored across all these computers as graphically illustrated documents. But whatever you do when thinking about the internet, don't get hung up on the technology. For businesses, the internet is really about communication and better information. The number one compelling reason for being connected to the internet is that it's simply a fast and cheap form of communication. If you only have an email connection, that's still a great step forward. You can send a message, including any kind of computer file, across town or even across the world for just the cost of a local call. And it'll get there in at worst a few hours and at best just a couple of minutes. This alone can save your company telephone, mail, courier and even personal travel costs, as well as a lot of time. That communication could be with suppliers, customers, members of your own staff if they're working at home or travelling, and also increasingly with banks and with government bodies like the Inland Revenue. OK, so I've convinced you. You want to get your business connected to the internet. What equipment will you need to do it? Well, first of all, of course, you'll need one of these, a PC or a Macintosh. Over 90% of desktop computers in the world are PCs running the Windows operating system. And as the market leader, they've got the advantage of being compatible with most software around, including everything on the web. People with Macs, though, do love it. You've probably already got computers in your business that can connect you to the internet. But if you need to buy one, it can be bewildering because there's simply so much choice. Look in a specialist computer magazine before going shopping to get some ideas. The essential things to look out for are the type of processor or chip, the amount of RAM, that's random access memory or processor memory, and the size of the hard disk, which actually stores your information. To make the most of the internet, you need a computer with at least a 700 MHz chip and at least 128 megabytes of RAM. You also need at least a 10 GB hard drive for storing all your data and programs, but most PCs have more, between 20 and 40 GB. If you want to take full advantage of all the reams of sound and video material on the World Wide Web, you should also have a graphics card and a sound card and speakers. You don't need this for connecting to the internet, but your PC should also have a CD or DVD drive so you can make the most out of new software that usually comes in these formats. You can buy a really good PC like this, which can handle everything you need to do on the web and everything else in your office as well, for around £500. Some companies also sell internet-ready PCs, which means that they have all the kit and software you need already loaded. You also need some way of connecting your PC to the telephone line so you can connect up to the internet. For most people at home and in very small businesses, this is still via a modem. All a modem does is convert information from your computer into signals, the tick, 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 that can be transmitted down a telephone line and vice versa. Many new PCs have modems inside them, but if yours doesn't, you can buy ones that connect into the serial port via a cable into the back of your computer for about £50. The most important factor to consider when buying a modem is their speed. Faster connections cut down the length of time it takes to download web pages and to send information. This will make the amount of time you spend on your telephone line shorter and in the long run save you money in telephone charges. Modem speed is measured in the number of bits of information they can transfer per second. The standard speed for a modem these days is 56 kilobits per second. After you've got your computer and your modem, you'll also need a company to connect you to the internet. These are called Internet Service Providers, commonly known as ISPs. ISPs provide you with the software you need, a password and phone number or phone numbers that your modem can call to make a connection to the internet. There are lots of different internet service providers to choose from, and it's worth shopping around for the right service for your business. The things to look out for when choosing an ISP include how much you want to pay. Some services are free, but you should look at the cost of their telephone support, which can be up to £1 a minute. Also check out what sort of support they offer, and does your work need 24-hour-a-day support? Do they have a deal with the phone company to keep your call charges down? How reliable are their networks? If you're waiting to send or receive that vital email, it can be infuriating if your internet service goes down. What other stuff will they give you for your money, or for nothing? Every ISP will give you your own email address, but some will give you more than one, and most now give you the space to have your own website. A comprehensive list of ISPs can be found on www.uk-business.net. Some internet service providers can also set you up with a faster connection than you'll get through a modem. These are worth considering if you think your company is going to use your online connection a lot, or you'll need to transmit large files of data, things like videos. These fast connections are known as broadband services. There are 4 main types of broadband service: ISDN, ADSL, leased lines and cable. ISDN, or Integrated Services Digital Network, has been around for a while. This is a digital telephone line that can transmit data as well as telephone calls at 128 kilobits per second. With an ISDN connection, you don't need a modem, but it does involve the installation of a terminal adapter at both ends of the line. A newer service is ADSL, or Asymmetrical Digital Subscriber Line. This uses new technology to transfer data across normal telephone lines at up to 2 megabits per second, 35 times faster than a modem, though the service that's being sold to the general public is usually slower at 512 kilobits per second. The most common way for firms to make a permanent connection to the net is to get a leased line. This is a permanent link from your internet service provider to your company. They run at different speeds. The basic service is 64 kilobits, but they can run up to 2 megabits per second, 18 times faster. And they connect to your internal computer network so that all your computers can get online. A fourth type of high-speed connection is with cable modems, which don't use the traditional telephone network but send data directly down fibre optic cables. These services are offered by the cable companies to people using the internet at home, but they may be a good option for small businesses, especially if you're operating from a home office. Speed isn't the only advantage here. Their other big plus is they're always on and unmetered, so you don't have to pay by the minute. This gets rid of all the logging on and logging off and stops you worrying about the length of the call while you surf. Also, when people send you email, you'll know about it instantly. Once your computer is set up to use the internet, you'll need to know how to get online and offline whenever you want to, and how to start and stop the various internet programs you have, such as email and web browsers. If you have a permanent connection to the net at work, you don't have to instruct your computer to dial up. You are always online, and all you need to do is start your email program or web browser and get going. You won't be paying by the minute to be connected either, so you don't need to worry about closing down your internet connection when you've finished using it. If you are using a modem connection to the internet, you need to instruct your computer to dial up your internet service provider's computer before you can send and receive information. You do this by using a piece of software called dial-up software that's provided by your internet service provider. They will also send you a guide on how to install it and how to get it working. When you want to log off, you close your connection at your dial-up software. Don't forget to do this or your phone bills will be horrible. Another way to get connected is to start an internet application like your web browser. When the browser attempts to open a website, your computer will detect the fact that you're not connected and either connect you automatically or ask you if you want to connect, depending on how your computer's set up. Once you're connected to the net, you can send and receive email, browse the web, and use any other internet software that you've had installed. Email or electronic mail is a way of sending typed messages, documents, or any other kind of digital files to other people with internet connections and an email account. It's the internet's killer application. Even if you never surf the World Wide Web, you will come to rely on email. It's a wonderful way of communicating in business with staff, suppliers, and customers. And it's not just a case of sending simple messages. You can send any computer file with it, whether that's words, graphics, sounds, or even video. To use email, your company will need its own email address, or several, so that the different staff or departments can have their own. When you open an account with an internet service provider, you'll be given an email address and you can choose the first bit yourself. So it'd be something like martinlewis@isp.net. The bit before the @ is you, or me in this case. The bit after is your ISP's domain. Domain just means the address of the ISP's computer. If you've got a name that's as common as muck like me, you'll probably find your name was taken ages ago and you'll end up with Martin Lewis 99 or John Smith 99 at isp.net or whatever your name is. In which case, you may want to resort to a variation or nickname, though Snugglybum at etc isn't perhaps the best way for a professional image. Some service providers give you several mailboxes on an account and may let you rename part of the domain yourself. For instance, martinlewis@martinscompany.isp.net. If you have a business account with an internet service provider, you'll usually be able to use your company name anyway. So, martinlewis@martinscompany.co.uk. The co part of the address shows you're a company, and the last part says which country you're in. If your business trades around the world, you may not want to be strongly associated with one country. In that case, go for a .com ending. This used to mean a company in America, but anyone can get one now, as long as it's not already taken. If you want to send or receive an email when you're travelling abroad without your own computer, it may be worth setting up another type of email account, a free web-based account. Lots of websites provide them, including Hotmail and Yahoo. They'll let you send and receive messages wherever you can find a net-connected computer. In an internet cafe, for example. To send and receive web email, you just go to the right website and follow the on-screen instructions. For a comprehensive list of free mail services, try www.emailadresses.com. To use email, you'll also need some email software. This might come as part of the software supplied by your internet service provider. There's also email software included as part of your web browser, like Outlook Express, which comes with Microsoft's Internet Explorer, and Messenger, which comes with Netscape's Navigator. There are also other dedicated email programs, including Eudora. But whichever you use, they all work in similar ways, enabling you to compose, send, receive, store, and manage your mail. If your computer is permanently connected to the internet, your email can come through at any time, provided somebody loves you, even if it's only your boss. And you may get a prompt to say a new message has arrived. If you aren't connected when someone sends you an email, it's stored in your electronic mailbox at your internet service provider until you collect it. To collect your mail and to send it, you have to dial up your internet service provider and download it or send it. Once you've downloaded your mail, you should come offline to save your phone bill. Then have a look in your inbox in your email software. This is where new emails arrive. Replying to an email is often simply a question of clicking the reply button. Be careful when replying if the email's been sent to a lot of people though. You'll be able to tell if there's a list of email addresses at the top. Unless you want everyone to know what you're going to say, make sure you just reply to the author. If you do want everyone on the list to get your reply, then make sure you hit the reply to all button. It can be as big a boo-boo to forget to include people as it is to send them a message by accident. Forwarding is a brilliant way of sending a message on to others. You just click the forward button and fill in your intended recipient's address and it's off. Bear in mind though, when you're writing email yourself, once you've sent it out, bang, it's gone. Anyone can simply forward it on to whomever they wish, and you have no control over who sees it. Generally, when you forward email, it will be altered so that the recipient can see it's been forwarded. But some email programs allow you to redirect mail as well, which leaves the message unaltered when you send it on to someone else. Getting some of these things wrong, replying to all instead of just one, and forwarding accidentally can sometimes lead to just awful faux pas. Ouch.
I remember one very embarrassing situation when I was mailing my girlfriend from here in the office and she was at home, and unbeknown to myself, she'd actually left the room and her mother was sat in front of the computer and I'd written something I wish I hadn't.
Well, I did the most awful thing. A friend of mine forwarded me an email from a potential employer for my comments. The email appeared as a small envelope on my screen. I clicked on the envelope, opened the email, read it, and then accidentally replied to the potential employer, not to my friend. Needless to say, I didn't say very nice things about him. It was just awful. As soon as I sent it, I realised, and there's no getting an email back once it's sent.
The most professional way to approach an email is to keep it short and to the point. People receive a lot of emails and they don't want all the formalities of a letter. They just want to, know the information very quickly. And I think the other thing that's very important is not to CC somebody who you don't know, because a lot of people receive emails and they don't want to trudge through mail from people they don't know.
It's a lot more direct, like text messaging on a phone. I think you should be very informal, and it's a personal thing between you and that person. I think there aren't any rules really. It's whatever you think you can get away with.
To create a new email and to send it, work offline if you're given the option, as this will save on your phone bill. Open a blank message and type in the email address of the person you're sending your message to. Your email address will appear automatically in the From line. Type in some kind of subject in the subject line. It's worth spending a moment thinking about this, because when mail is stored in folders, it can be quite hard to recall which mail you're searching for a few days later. The more accurately or memorably the subject describes the content of the mail, the easier it'll be to find again. Be creative, but accurate. You can send a copy of the message to as many other people as you like at the same time as you send it to the main recipient. Simply enter the full email address in the CC box, carbon copy box, separated by commas or semicolons depending on the software you're using. The person receiving the mail will be able to see who else has been sent a copy of the file. You can also fill in a BCC or blind carbon copy field. This is a sneaky one because it's hidden to the main recipient of your email, and you can use it to copy in someone else, maybe the boss, without letting the recipient know. Then type in your message and sign it. Most email software allows you to set up one or more standard signatures that you include at the end of your emails to save typing it out every time. One of the brilliant things about email is the ability to send attachments. This could be a word processing file, spreadsheet or graphics. It loads quicker than faxing, and you can even send things you can't fax, like sound and video files. The recipient needs to have a copy of the right software their end to be able to see what you've sent them. You can also send web pages, though most email packages allow you to include a link to your website within the message, rather than sending the web page as an attachment. It's much easier to do that way. One of the great things about receiving attachments is that you can also store all these documents electronically, rather than on dusty shelves, and will be able to open them up and work on them. Do remember to back up everything though, if you're going for the paperless office. It's very easy to send an attachment. Once you've written your message, all you do is click on Add Attachment or Insert Attachment, or on the paperclip icon in the menu bar of your email software. You will then need to locate the file to attach and double-click on it. Once the name of the document has appeared within your message, usually in a space at the top or bottom, it's ready to send. If you decide against sending the attachment, simply highlight it and delete. Your email may then take a little longer to send than a normal message because of the extra file size it's now carrying. In fact, you should look carefully at the size of a file before you send it. The recipient may not take too kindly to a huge video clip blocking their inbox. If you're sent an attachment, to open it, you simply double-click on it. Where people often run into problems is when they don't have the right software to open it. Often you'll be prompted to either open or save the file. If you wish to store the file in a folder where you can get back to it quickly, then this is a moment to decide where you're going to put it. Your first trickle of emails can quickly turn into a flood until eventually you feel you're drowning in it. When this happens, you've got to organise it. The best way to do this is to set up folders organised like you would a filing cabinet, maybe by topics or people, in which you can store any messages you'll need in the future. Choose Folder New in the File menu. As you set up folders, you can create subfolders within them, naming them as you go along. Then move the relevant messages into the appropriate file by either dragging and dropping the message or using a Move to Folder button. You can set up your program to filter your mail into these folders if you want. You can also mark your email as read and unread and specify whether they're high or low priority. And if you've got too much email, throw it away, of course. To do this, you usually select or highlight the message and then hit the delete button in your software or the delete key on your keyboard. Alternatively, you can drag the message to a deleted items folder, if you have one, or drop the mail in your wastebasket. When you delete an email, it's usually transferred into a deleted mail folder, where you can still read it and pull it back out into another folder if you change your mind. If you then delete it from the delete folder though, it's gone for good. Printing email is pretty straightforward. You usually highlight the message, or just press File, then Print. Just as you've probably got stacks of phone numbers of people you regularly speak to in your mobile, it's worth building up an address book of your regular contacts within your email software. You can add a new email address to your book either by opening the book icon and typing in the details, or by a simple shortcut such as right-clicking on an email message or address. When you put together your address book, you can connect full email addresses with shorter names that you choose. So Bob Smith at thesmileycorporation.co.uk can be Bob at work, or whatever other cryptic clues you come up with. Once you've added the new entry and decided what to call it, next time you send that person a mail, you can just choose their name from the list in your address book. Eventually, you'll build up so many contacts in your email address book that you'll be lost without it. So make sure you don't lose it by saving it onto a floppy disk that you then keep in a safe place. If you find yourself mailing particular groups of people a lot, like a whole team at work, then you'll save yourselves hours of cutting and pasting if you set up a group email list, also known as a personal distribution list. To do this, go into your address book, select the button for new entries, choose personal distribution list or group list or whatever your software calls this, give your list a name, then add members to it. When you want to do a group mail out, type the name you called your list into the to box and away your message will go. Spam is the internet equivalent of junk mail. And like junk mail, it ranges from harmless marketing to dubious get-rich-quick schemes. But it is estimated to cost businesses millions of pounds a year in the time it takes to deal with it. If you do get spam, stop. Resist all temptation to reply to it. Until you do, they don't really know you exist. And if you say hello to them, you'll end up with more spam than the supermarket shelf. Now, if you are getting inundated, complain to your internet service provider. They should try and stop it. For advice on spam, try these websites. And though email can be a great marketing tool, used carefully, don't be tempted to start spamming yourself. It'll have the opposite effect from the one you intend. If your business does do a lot of emailing to long lists of people, you may need an email management program to help. There are several to choose from. The content of a lot of spam emails is harmless, but there is plenty of nasty stuff floating around too. In general, if someone mails you something with the message, "Please forward this to all your friends," don't. Everyone gets loads of these chain letters and emotional blackmails which circulate around the net all the time. Even if they have no basis in fact, they tend to panic people, so check whether it's yet another hoax before you hit the send button. Also, beware strange messages with attachments. They may contain viruses. Delete without opening them. A virus is a computer program that has been carefully written to secretly copy itself from one computer to another, usually by being hidden in a normal program. When you run a program that is infected with a virus, the virus is activated. A virus can delete files or send confidential information to a stranger, or even make your whole computer unusable. To protect your computer from viruses, make sure it has virus scanning software. There are lots available. Many companies directly connected to the internet have firewall software that tries to filter viruses before they reach individual computers. A firewall is a piece of software that creates a barrier between the outside world, the internet, and the inside network, the LAN, and then looks at every single bit of information that tries to pass from one to the other in either direction. It checks the data to see if it's allowed in or not, and only lets it through if it thinks it's safe. Setting up and managing a firewall is a complex and technical job. You can't just switch it on and leave it running. The firewall has to be told what data to let through, and this will change over time. If you think you need a firewall, take good technical advice. So that's the nuts and bolts of using email. It's revolutionised business communications, almost entirely for the better. But it's also got some of us into a little bit of trouble too. So a few words of caution. It can be very tempting to rattle off an email to someone when you're angry and say something you later regret. And unlike a letter that may sit unposted for at least an hour or two while you cool down, once you've pressed send, there's usually no going back. Emails also tend to be written very quickly and briefly, dispensing with the usual dears and yours sincerely of letters. Some people don't even bother writing their name at the bottom. Fine, if you're mailing a close contact, but it's not always the best way to go in business communications. And don't rely on email to get instantaneously to your recipient. The message is usually sent pretty quickly, more than 90% arrive within 5 minutes. But the person you sent it to may not check their messages for hours. So if it's urgent, you may have to go back to using the poor old phone. That's it for this show. Happy emailing. For more information about getting your business online, log on to www.bbc.co.uk/Webwise or call BBC Learning Advice or turn to CFAX page 635. Welcome to Webwise for Business. I'm Martin Lewis, and in this show I'm going to tell you everything you wanted to know about the World Wide Web, but were afraid to ask. I'm going to show you how to navigate around the web from link to link, and most importantly, how to pinpoint exactly the information you want without having to surf all day. Along the way, I'll be showing you lots of interesting websites, raising a few problems you may face, and hopefully suggesting some answers. So, first of all, what exactly is this World Wide Web anyway? The World Wide Web has become so popular, many people use the phrase synonymously with the internet. But strictly speaking, the World Wide Web, or web for short, is the vast library of files and information that's stored on the internet. When the first websites started to appear in 1993, they were quite dull and mostly text. But now they're rich, multimedia, and include almost anything that could be made digital. Text, animations, photographs, video, and audio files.
For this week, this is Vince.
So far, so interesting. But the World Wide Web is incredibly useful because it's also searchable, like one vast database. In fact, browsing the web has become almost too easy. You can spend hours doing it and still not find what you want. But, fortunately, there is software available to help, and I'll tell you more about that later. Just as with email, each website and web page has a unique address which enables people to find it. This is called a URL, or Uniform Resource Locator. And like email addresses, these can seem meaningless at first, but you get used to their format, just as you do the format of postal addresses. If someone was reading out the address for the Webwise website, they'd say www.bbc.co.uk/Webwise. www means it's a website. The next bit is the organisation or company name, then comes the type of organisation, and then the country. URLs can also give you clues about where links are about to take you. As you move your mouse over the link on a page, but before you actually click on the link, most browsers display the URL of the target page in the bar across the bottom of the window. To surf the net, you need a web browser. Web pages are downloaded into the browser's window. You can type in web addresses and go to different sites, go backwards or forwards through web pages, and store your favourite website addresses in directories that you can organise in your own way. Browsers also provide access to email, news and chat services, and the latest versions of web browsers will also help you screen websites and check them for authenticity and security. There are several web browsers to choose from. By far the most popular are Microsoft Internet Explorer, sometimes just referred to as Explorer or IE, and Netscape Navigator or Netscape Communicator. They do vary slightly, but they're both free, always good, and have many common features. If you have the choice at your work, it's very much a matter of your personal preference. And if you're not sure what you're using, spot the difference in the top right-hand corner. N for Netscape, a globe for Explorer. What's special about the World Wide Web, rather than the word processed documents say, is that all these millions of separate documents are linked together by what are called hypertext links, so that you can jump from one to another by clicking on highlighted words or pages. When you jump from one page to another, you might be jumping to a page on the same website, or it's even possible it'll be on a site sitting on another computer somewhere else, entirely different, in a different country. There can be any number of links on a page, and they can appear anywhere on it. They can be embedded in text or on a new line. They can be big, small, bold, or capitals. And they will normally be highlighted with a colour in some way. And as you move your mouse pointer over them, it will turn from an arrow into a hand. Links can also be embedded in an image rather than text. Sometimes these have borders which match the colour of text links. They don't always. One of the fun things about links is that what you do is up to you. You can just simply click around and go anywhere you want, whenever you want. Before you start, you also need to fill in some information about your email address and set some preferences about how you'd like the browser to look and behave. Look for the Options button in the top bar. From here, you can set general preferences for appearance, email details, details about your network, and enter some security features, including a password. You can also tell your browser where to go first. Usually it's a home page. A home page is like the front page of a newspaper and will normally have links to all the different areas within the website. This is the page where first-time visitors usually start and will often return to again and again between forays into different areas of the site. If you get confused about where you are within a site, just try going back to the home page and start again. All the control buttons to help you navigate through the World Wide Web are on the top of the window. They look slightly different in different browsers, but they do the same things. If you click on a link and it loads a page you don't really want to look at all, you can do a single click on the back button of your browser to take you to the page you were looking at before, and then follow another link until you found something a little bit more interesting. The forward or next button works in the same way, so you can single click on that to take you forward again. A double click will move you backwards or forwards by 2 pages. One of the other buttons you'll use most regularly is Home. It's not just where the heart is. Search takes you to search engines, which help you search the web. Print lets you print out the web page you're looking at on whatever printer you use. Stop stops the browser from trying to load a page if you realise, having seen part of it, that you've made a mistake or just don't want to hang around waiting for a slow page to load. Refresh or reload will have another try reading your current page. Sometimes it seems frozen, but it's only a temporary error that can be solved by reloading. Very useful buttons in your browser are the ones called Favorites in Explorer or Bookmarks in Netscape. They're the same thing. These let you store the addresses of your favourite pages. Kylie's website. Then, when you want to go back to a particular page, you can go there in one click, instead of trying to remember where it was that you got there from, or worse, having to remember a very long URL. Adding a bookmark couldn't be easier. When you're at a page you want to bookmark, just click your mouse on the Bookmarks or Favorites menu at the top of the screen and move down to select Bookmark this page or Add to Favorites. To find the bookmark page later, go back to the same menu, keeping the mouse button held down, move down to the bookmark you want to visit. When it's highlighted, release the mouse button. When you've stored lots of bookmarks, you can use the Organize Bookmarks function to arrange them in separate folders by subject. You just create folders for each type of bookmark using the New Folder function and drag and drop the bookmarks into the appropriate folders. If you make your bookmarks or favourites your home page, this gives you quick access to the pages you often visit. When your bookmarks folder starts to get very big, it's worth finding out which file it's stored in and start making a backup copy of it, in case you're unlucky and that file gets lost or corrupted for some reason. But among all these millions of pages, how do you find what you want? Well, fortunately, as well as millions and millions and millions of web pages on the internet, there's also lots and lots of search tools, or search engines as they're known. These automatically trawl the internet and index what they find. They'll find literally thousands of sites for you, though many of them will be completely useless for your purposes. So it's very important to try and make your search criteria as narrow as possible. If you're looking for some information about politics, for example, it's no good putting in politics because you'll get thousands of possible suggested sites to search. You have to narrow it down. UK politics would be better, but perhaps you'd be better off putting in the name of your local MP. Search engines can have all sorts of interfaces. Some ask you to fill out a form, for others you type in a query or a single word. But all of them expect you to submit some kind of request, and in return they will provide a list of possible answers, which you can click to directly. When the search engine appears, type keywords into the window and then click on Search. You'll probably get too many sites containing your keywords, so you have to refine your search. To do this, go back to the search and type in a more specific query, avoiding common words. It's important to be specific and put the most precise word first. One of the best ways to narrow a search is to restrict it to certain countries. For example, if you want information about Birmingham, a worldwide search will bring you masses of information about the US city, but by specifying UK and Ireland, you won't have to waste time visiting the wrong country. If you're looking for the website of a known organisation or body, such as the US President's site at the White House, you could try guessing by typing in likely candidates. But in many cases, they won't always take you to the page you'd expect. For instance, this is www.whitehouse.gov. It's the official US President's site, while www.whitehouse.com has rather a large number of naked ladies pictured on it, so I don't think I'll be clicking to that just yet. There are also some specific search engines and directories which are very good for business information and for guides to UK sites. Plus, there are specific search engines you can use to trace email addresses. These days, many websites include a search facility, if only to access content within that site, like this one on the Inland Revenue site. So searching is a handy skill to acquire. And don't forget, another obvious way to find the content you're after is to discover a site that you like or that covers your area of interest well, and then see which links they recommend. There's lots of useful information and links for both businesses and individuals on UK government sites. The plan is to deliver all public services online by 2005 in a £1 billion push to get the UK online. Okay, so your favourite search engine has obligingly found you a manageable number of links. What could you do next? Well, you could go straight to them. Or if you prefer, you can save them for later by saving the page to the hard drive of your computer. Or you could bookmark it. Once you've found the info, there's the whole question of whether to believe it or not. Does the site look official? Does it have a proper domain name? They aren't necessarily owned by the company you'd first assume. One way to make sure a site is reputable is to start out at a major website that's chosen reputable sites for you. These sites are often known as portals. They've been specifically designed to be your point of entry into the internet and provide many services like search facilities, emails, and vast libraries of information. The BBC sees itself as providing a portal, although there are others. Accuracy and authenticity are particularly important if you're looking at news. There are many companies that offer news online. Most of them are recognisable from other formats like television. At the BBC, journalists work 24 hours a day to bring the news to an entirely internet audience. Other popular services are from the American broadcasters CNN and ABC. Newspapers have also made the move to electronic publishing, amongst others The Independent, The Guardian, The Mirror and The Telegraph. It would be impossible for the software companies that build browsers to keep up with the different kinds of media being delivered over the internet every day, so they don't bother. Instead, the browsers are designed so that they can be extended to cope with new types of information by installing new mini programs. These mini programs are called plugins. You may need to install some plugins to be able to make the most of your surfing, because they usually deal with rich information like video and animations. Plugins include the Real Audio, Real Video player, and QuickTime, which enables you to listen to radio stations and watch television on your computer. Shockwave and Flash enable you to play animations. Adobe Acrobat Reader enables you to read large document files from the web, like government reports. These are often written in Adobe. When your web browser comes across a new form of data, it looks to see if it can read it itself. If it can't figure out what to do with it, the browser will look for an installed plugin that knows about this sort of content. If it finds one, it'll load it and run it. If it doesn't find one, you'll have to download it from the web, usually from the software company's site. And there's normally a link to follow. If your connection is slow and the file is large, it can take a while. Patience is often required on the internet. Well, what sort of information is out there? There are plenty of websites about the net itself, about science and technology. There's weather reports from all over the world, lots of excellent news sources, information about work, and of course, thousands and thousands and thousands of company websites. Here's some from my favourites folder. You'll usually need to save images separately from the rest of a web page. If you want to save a photo or graphic image you've come across on your web travels, it's very straightforward to do so, but remember copyright. All you do is right-click on the image or click and hold if you're a Mac user. A menu will pop up, giving you the option to save picture or something similar. Then save it somewhere you can find easily. It's a good idea to keep all your images in a special folder. Many web pages seem to have the words "my" in large letters somewhere near the top. Personalisation has become the latest net fashion. What this means is that you can choose which features of a website you like best and have them automatically appear the next time you visit. There are two main ways to do this. The simplest is for the user to log into the site each time they visit. Then the user either fills out some preferences in a form or the site tracks their use automatically. Then, the next time they log on, it tailors the information accordingly. There are other elements to the internet as well as the World Wide Web, and the most important to mention is newsgroups. These are really like huge notice boards where people leave messages to be read and replied to by the group. You access newsgroups through your browser, but you need to be able to connect to what's known as a newsgroup server. This is provided by your internet service provider. If you don't have a connection, ask. The first thing your browser will do when it connects will be to download a list of all the newsgroups it can get its hands on. There are thousands of them on every imaginable subject under the sun, from intense political debate to underwater hockey. They act as pure information exchanges, social interaction, crisis support, or just a good place to have a whinge. And you may find some of them are useful to your business. Subjects under discussion will often be obvious for the heading. The start of the address designates the broad topic area, known as the hierarchy, with a range of subtopics included under this umbrella. Hierarchies include REC for recreational info, Sci for science, Com for anything to do with computers, and Talk for a debate on a variety of subjects. These hierarchies are highly organised with committees vetting entries. Others are more haphazard. Alt newsgroups are often on sexual subjects, and some internet service providers filter them out. When you get the urge to reply to a question or start a discussion, simply open a message, type and send it. Although some internet users seem to think otherwise, the internet is not outside the law. In fact, the net is regulated by the same laws that apply to communication or trade in any medium, and anyone using it should be aware that they could find themselves breaking the law if they're not careful. The reason some people call the internet a modern Wild West is not because there are no laws, but because it's difficult to enforce. It's particularly important as a company to ensure that nothing on your website is in breach of the law in any of the countries where it can be read. The most important laws affecting the internet are copyright, libel, obscenity, data protection, and the Computer Misuse Act, which covers hacking. For the letter of the law, check out the government HMSO site, where you can find all Acts of Parliament. Online publications are copyrighted just like any other creative work. This means that it's illegal to use materials from the web, other than short extracts taken for research or educational use, without getting permission from the copyright holder. Pictures, writing, music or other audio, graphics and other elements of web pages are covered by this. Brand names or images could also be registered trademarks and therefore can't be used at all. Software is also copyrighted and can't simply be downloaded and used freely. But some websites will let you use their stuff for free, but always check it out first. You can libel someone online just as you can in a newspaper. Once or twice, libelous email has come to light following a corporate takeover, when the new owner has examined old emails. This emphasises a key rule about email: be careful what you say, particularly on a company network, because you don't know where it may end up being stored, and it may come back to haunt you. Equally, you should be careful not to libel anyone on your company website. Downloading obscene and pornographic material onto a computer at work is becoming an increasingly common reason for companies to dismiss an employee. It may also be a criminal offence if that material is considered illegal under obscenity legislation. For most internet users, the real worry is what you or your children might come across when online. If you are worried about seeing pornographic or nasty material, you can install special filter software that will stop you accessing sites that it's found to contain pornography or violence. Filtering software has a list of offensive phrases which it checks against the contents of a website. If any match, it prevents access. As some words have a double meaning though, it may stop access to perfectly normal sites. It may also miss pictures. This is where blocking software excels. As well as the list of offensive words, blocking software also has a list of sites that are known to be offensive. The Data Protection Act governs the storage and manipulation of personal information in electronic formats. If you have a website that collects email addresses or other personal information, then you'll probably need to register with the Office of the Data Protection Registrar as a data user under the Act. You need to inform them what data you're collecting and why, and you always need to inform the people whose data you're collecting what you're going to use it for. It's your responsibility under the Data Protection Act to keep data not only confidential but secure. But because the internet is designed as an environment for computers to share data and software, once a computer is connected to the internet, then it is vulnerable to attack from outside, including attack from viruses. A virus is a computer program that has been carefully written to secretly copy itself from one computer to another, usually by being hidden in a normal program. They often conceal themselves inside a decoy, like a downloadable file from the web. When you run a program that is infected with a virus, the virus is activated. A virus can delete files or send confidential information to a stranger, or even make your whole computer unusable. If you're not 100% sure about the reliability of a website, don't download anything from it. You can also configure your browser to help you or your staff be safe while you're surfing. Options range from imposing a total ban on downloading anything to just displaying a warning box. You can find out about viruses from the Wild List, an organisation which monitors viruses and infections. It lists over 300 viruses that have been found in the wild outside research labs. To protect your computer from viruses, make sure it has virus scanning software. There's lots available. Once you've got antivirus software installed, they'll set to work to eliminate the virus and set up an immune system by scanning new files and programs. The Computer Misuse Act makes it a criminal offence to hack into somebody else's computer. A hacker is someone who gets access to a computer without permission, either because they want to show off their technical skills or poke fun, or because they want to steal data or damage the system. The Act covers hacking outside the UK. If you use your computer in Newcastle to break into one in Lisbon, then you're still breaking the law. You wouldn't leave your business premises unlocked, and the same's true of your computer. An important defence against any form of computer intrusion or hacking is using passwords. The first line of defence is initial connection. When you set up an internet account with your internet service provider, you have to choose a password to put in when you dial up the net. To make your password difficult to crack, then spell the words wrong or throw in some capitals, mix in numbers or even punctuation marks. Many people worry about the security of sending credit card details over the internet, but despite the many worries, there's very little difference in sending your credit card details over the net than there is giving them over the telephone. There are simply so many messages sent over the internet and so few of them contain credit card numbers that the chances of someone reading your message are very, very low. Websites offering the option of online payment for some service by credit card usually use some kind of secure system for the message containing your credit card number. There are also ways to make it impossible for other people than the intended recipient to read your email. Encryption software can turn your message into a special code which only the people you want to can read. These encryption programs are easily available, some of them for free. Security is crucial on the net to make the most of some of the services that are most useful to businesses, like online banking. Most of the high street banks have an online banking service that's accessed through the web, offering a range of facilities. There's also many internet-only banks that have very good deals. Apart from being easy to use, online banking is very convenient and time-saving. Well, that's it for this show. Happy and productive surfing. For more information about getting your business online, log on to www.bbc.co.uk/Webwise or call BBC Learning Advice or turn to CFAX page 635.